Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in. We have a lot to talk about. Biden's six-quarter average is the lowest for an elected president. This is Gallup. He has reached the lowest approval rating ever for any president, according to Gallup, in terms of an average of a six-quarter average. And we'll talk about that, the economy, the recession, the fact that the stock market is going to eventually crash far more. I predicted all of this in September of 2021, but ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe right now to my super chat. I cannot do this without you, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to give you a shout out, and I'm going to focus on thanking people. I know people don't like it. I unsubbed. I unsubbed because you're thanking people. It's like, well, you know what? If you are nice enough or kind enough or generous enough to go ahead and give me your hard-earned money, I'm not even taking my clothes off. Heaven forbid. That would be nightmarish. But I'm not even, all I'm doing is talking about politics and the economy and the stock market and geopolitics. And if you are kind enough to give a super chat, I'm going to thank you. And I'm going to thank you as often as I can. So, to my super chat, thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, let's get to it. By the way, August 1st. Tammy, hello. August 1st. I am going to do a segment every single day from here on out on H.A. Goodman. And it's going to be 8 a.m. Pacific and 11 a.m. Pacific time. So in the morning, Pacific time, 8 and 11. So every morning, 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. And then, of course, throughout the day, I'll have various uploads or live streams. But you can count on 2 segments. Just set your dial, set your watches, be here. Same bat time, same bat channel every single day. 8 a.m. Pacific and 11 a.m. Pacific. Okay, I'm trying to build some continuity. Ever since I started the channel, we're almost at 200,000 subs. I'm thinking maybe I'm not hitting 200,000. Well, I know things have been slow, and we're going to get way past 200,000 very soon. But I'm thinking, you know what? Let's go ahead. I want my viewers to know that at 8 a.m. Pacific and 11 a.m. Pacific every day, we'll have an upload. If there's some kind of monumental breaking news, I'll have a live stream, but I'll have the live streams later in the day and then various uploads at different times later in the day. But you will always have the same 8 and 11 a.m. time slots. I do have the stock market crash and the Bitcoin crash. The nuclear confrontation channel that used to be the Bitcoin crash channel. Bitcoin will get to 10,000 or lower. Unfortunately, you might see the market go back a little bit higher, and it's going to tank and crash, ladies and gentlemen. We'll talk about that throughout the next couple of months. We'll talk about midterms throughout the next couple of months. The Durham Probe Special Counsel trial of the Steele dossier source the next couple of months. We'll talk about midterms actually in November. So be here in November, ladies and gentlemen, definitely. And let's get started. And to my super chat, thank you. Biden, 6-quarter average is the lowest for an elected president. Mashed potato brain, 6 quarters in office spanning April 20 through July 2019. April 20th through July 20th recently ended. During this time, an average of 40% of Americans approved of the job he was doing as president. That's nonsense. So that's nonsense right there. It's a lot lower than that, but here, no president in his first term has had a lower 6-quarter average than mashed potato brains, although Jimmy Carter's and Donald Trump's ratings were only slightly better. And at 42%, President Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, and Ronald Reagan also averaged below majority approval. So you have to also take into account a couple of things that they don't talk about. They don't talk about the fact that all of media, Washington Post, New York Times, MSNBC, CNN, Vanity Fair, The Atlantic, New York Magazine, New Yorker, BuzzFeed, Vice, Time Magazine, Los Angeles Times, every single social media algorithms, Hollywood Twitter, They're all propping up Biden. They're all propping up mashed potato brains. And Steelers, hello. Steelers freak, hello. If I was you, Terrell. Hello, everybody. This is Mitchell McConnell. Oh, Mitchell McConnell, the pride of Kentucky. Okay, I wish I could do more, but so you have to understand that what is the true approval rating? Like, if you didn't have Jimmy Kimmel every single night, basically working for the Democratic Party, if you didn't have, I mean, it's almost as if Jimmy Kimmel doesn't realize 70 plus million Americans voted for Donald Trump. So, not that he cares, because Hollywood makes just enough money with half the country on board with their nonsense. So, he doesn't really care. That's why you have like all this nonsense, these remakes, these movies that are catering to a very small percentage of the U.S. population. Most people just, if you want to watch an 80s film, then go rent a DVD that was made prior to 2016. Because after 2016, you will see all this nonsense. Like if you watch Star Wars or Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi or E.T. or Harry Potter, or you will see you will not see scenes. There will be deleted scenes. And there will be added scenes. So, Mr. Bike Hunter, hello. Thank you for watching in Australia. I refuse to watch. That's why, there are a couple old DVD places in Southern California I can go to, and I have like DVDs from like 1998. Okay, or actually, you know what? I have the Star Wars: Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi from 2004, and then I have one from 1997. So, an Empire Strikes Back and a DVD from 1997. I know that there are no added scenes. So Disney added a whole bunch of nonsense to the original films. So I was actually watching a DVD. I think I was watching Star Wars, and I was like, wait a second, where's the part where Darth Vader let's see, how do I say this in an algorithmically friendly manner? Through telepathy, ends this person's life. And they deleted that scene, okay? It's not just that. It's like, they're not deleting scenes for a specific purpose in terms of story. They're deleting scenes and they're adding scenes, whether it's, or they're doing these remakes, whether it's Ghostbusters or whatever. The Quartering is a great channel. He does a lot of work on this. But what's happening is they're trying to change, alter American culture. It's not working because you can't take Ghostbusters and remake it and infuse the sensibilities of far-left social advocates of 2022 or 2020 or 2021 or whatever. It's not going to work. None of these things are going to work. So that's like one of the, it ties into Biden's horrible approval rating, because no matter what you want to say about Trump had a great economy. So we had record highs in terms of household median income, personal income. We had record low in the poverty rate. We have a much higher poverty rate now. We have a much lower household median income. We have inflation, 4.4%, earnings down. Real earnings are down 4.4%. So you can go ahead and you can talk about how a remake of a movie is so courageous and wonderful, and it's tailored to everybody. It's like most people of all backgrounds who lived through the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, they're not going to enjoy it. They're really not gonna. It's not even a matter of who you are, or like, it's a matter of it's really a matter of, did you live through that time period, or are you nostalgic? Or if, let's say you're 20, there are 25, 22-year-olds, 18-year-olds who look at remakes and say, why can't they just create something new? Why do they have to ruin or destroy what was created in the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s, or the 70s? So it's like, there's nothing really original. There's nothing too original. There aren't many examples of original or films that are completely unique. Everything's now a remake, and it's remade into it's remade into the vision of what a morally superior, highly educated, oftentimes apoplectic, left-leaning citizen might enjoy. And even then, it's very difficult. If you look at these films now, it's very difficult to kind of say, okay, they're the same, it's the same universe, or it's the same kind of film. It's like, you're not really going to get that. But anyway, the economy is going to do much worse. See, what's taking place right now is you have the S&P 500. See, when the market goes up, that's because Wall Street's saying, oh, the S&P 500, it hasn't, earnings were down in the first quarter, but earnings have been okay in the S&P, but the economy contracted. We have a contracting economy. Okay, so the U.S. economy is shrinking. The U.S. economy is shrinking, and if 40% of the S&P 500 are banks and tech companies, gigantic banks and tech companies, that's 40% of the S&P 500. The Russell 2000 has been completely decimated. Okay, the 2,000 top smaller companies in the country. So I have the VHS also, Sean. That's right. It's probably worth more than that. Excellent, yeah. You're looking at, things are going to get much worse. Okay, much, much worse. And it's like, where is this approval rating going to be? It was at 34%. It was at 34% in one poll. Something like, it was below President Trump's lowest poll. And you have to understand, media did a number on Trump. You could say, well, he did it to himself also, but yeah, media did a number on him. And you look now, U.S. headed for massive layoffs, economist. Okay, this is what I fear, ladies and gentlemen. As I beg for Super Chat, I'm telling everybody, here's what people should remember. Economist Peter Schiff predicted the U.S. is headed for massive layoffs in the second consecutive quarter of gross domestic product decline, pushed the U.S. into recession under common but unofficial definitions. So hilarious. It's like, we're going to have layoffs, and you're already seeing layoffs in the tech industry. But the reason that we haven't had layoffs, and I don't want this to happen, and I'm telling people, like, save your money. Make sure that you have a safety net for because the next 5, 6, 7 months, 8 months, 9 months, the economy is not going to rebound in the third quarter. I don't think that's even possible. I don't see how it's possible if inflation persists and you have interest rates going up. You have the perfect storm of every possible negative economic, thing taking place. So you have all of these things, a confluence of terrible economic decision making, leading to consequences that are now, it's like a Pandora's box of consequences you can't control. So let's see what he said. Schiff made the prediction on a Twitter post. Okay, so here. Noting how the current state of the labor market has often been cited by those who disagree that the U.S. is in or headed a recession, the Dems claim that we are not in a recession because unemployment is still low. By the way, really quickly, but weekly jobless claims continue to rise and mass layoffs are coming. Do you want to know, ladies and gentlemen, why unemployment is low? Okay. When you have 2 years ago record lows in unemployment, when you have record lows in unemployment, okay, record low, then you have 22 million people unemployed. You have 22 million people. So you have 22 million people unemployed. And that was you went from record low unemployment in January. And so then in March of 22, you had, March or April, you had around 22 million people unemployed. It took 2 years to get these people back to work. It took 2 years to basically get them back to work. And you have a situation where real wages are down 4.4%. You could look right here. Real wages in the U.S. falling 4.4%. Okay, real wages were up under Trump. That was, I remember, that was like what people were going after Trump. Well, the economy's growing, but real wages aren't growing as fast as the economy. Yeah, real wages were positive under Trump. They're now negative 4.4%. Okay? They're now negative 4.4%. And if you look, inflation, Gunlack warns U.S. inflation may hit 10%. Almost certain that the inflation rate will go. It's gone up. It's not getting lower. It's getting higher. Inflation's getting higher. And it's like, if you have inflation going up, you know you have oil prices that are going to be well over $100 a barrel. They'll almost certainly break records. The record is 147. They almost broke that record a couple months ago. WTI and Brent were close to the record highs. Okay? And so, how on earth is this going to... And then you have Democrats talking about the working class. Oh, we're going to help the working class. Like, they wouldn't even vote. I mean, you have all of these people are like the biggest hypocrites and liars on the planet. They wouldn't even vote on Medicare for all. They wouldn't even vote on it. Yet they just pontificate. It's like, how do you have a policy and you stand upon all your policies that have destroyed the economy, but how do you have this obsession with single-payer Medicare for all? Nationalized healthcare. Okay, if it worked, it'd be fantastic. They won't even vote on it. They're too cowardly in the Democrats in the House to even vote on it. Of course the majority of Democrats are against it. What's the point? Then you get all these people like, oh, you know what? The political calculus. It's the political calculus, you know. You really can't vote on it. It's like, well, you raised money off of it. How much money do you think the $20 million venture capital funded people or the progressives, quote unquote, and how much money do you think AOC got from? How much do you think Bernie Sanders got from Medicare for all? It's a money-making fantasy. But they're not. Green New Deal. Why doesn't AOC say anything about Biden flooding the country full of strategic petroleum reserves? Because they're Democrats. They love to pontificate and judge and preach and condemn. Except everything they touch turns to the fertilizer that's like now 400% more expensive than it used to be. Why is the economy in free fall? And you don't hear, like, if this was Trump, oh my God, all you'd hear, told you so, I hope all those Trumpers lose their jobs and homeless. That's what they would be saying now. They would totally be saying that. You're talking about, like, really ruthless. And then these are the same people talking about Trump's cruelty. Oh, he's so cruel. It's like, you have people losing their lives on a weekly basis, sometimes in terrible, terrible tragedies that are just swept under the rug. People losing their lives in trucks, a whole bunch of people. Really terrible. I mean, I can't get into it because of, guidelines and protocols, and not a word from AOC. Not a word. She's not looking into chain-linked fences, teary-eyed. You don't hear any of that stuff. And I wrote a Jerusalem Post op-ed on how AOC distorted historical record. It's these people have to distort language. It's so easy, too, because like when Trump was in office, she used a word or a description of a facility that was completely a deliberate and shameless and disgusting, twisted distortion of historical record. And I wrote about that in the Jerusalem Post. And nobody on the left was totally fine. And even Yad Vashem had to basically correct her and call her out on Twitter. And it's like, you have things getting worse. Not Dale, hello. You have things getting worse, not better. But like I said, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a little bit slow this month. It'll pick up. Trump will announce the next couple of months. He could announce in August. He should probably announce right away. I mean, there's no point in him waiting. There's just no point. And then you have these people, like, they forget that Trump defeated Clinton in 2016, like I said he would. They forget that. They feel like Trump, you have these people are like, Trump endorsed candidates. Oh, you have Democrats trying, in blue states primarily, to get Trump Republicans elected, which is hilarious because one of these days, just like with Donald Trump himself, they're going to get something they don't want. They were elevating Trump before they blamed the Kremlin. There's a great Politico article the day before Clinton lost, and Democrats lost their minds. It was titled like, "They always wanted Trump," something like that. Lying down face bullying soldier, hello. So it's like Democrats love to talk about interference. They're now like literally interfering in Republican primaries, which is really hilarious too, because they're helping Trump. If you go ahead and you give money to a Trump Republican because you think that person will lose, what you're doing also is you're basically helping Trump alter the Republican Party everywhere, which is a very good thing. Very good thing. That's how Trump defeated Clinton. And if you didn't have the entire United States, every single Democratic governor tank their economy gleefully, along with the most apoplectic and hysterical media coverage you've ever seen in your life in his last year in office, history would be different now. But again, it's like there were things that President Trump did. There were mistakes that he made. In terms of public relations, he lost the ability to speak to... Twitter became a liability. He might have used Twitter prior to becoming president as a platform to... Twitter became a huge liability. And he lost his patience with like petulant journalists. And I understand that. But he focused too much on, a certain brand of a style that worked maybe in 2014, 2015, but didn't work when you're president. But here, Gunlack warns U.S. inflation may hit 10%. So, economic outlook now worse than in September. He says bonds are overvalued while emerging markets are cheap. So, here you have, of course, U.S. inflation may approach 10% this year. If inflation keeps going up, and it will, and oil prices keep going up, and they will also, you're looking at eventually, see what's taking place, ladies and gentlemen, is that we haven't had massive layoffs yet, and I don't want that to happen, but we're going to have layoffs because eventually consumers are already feeling the effects of inflation. They're already feeling, the impact in grocery stores or, supermarkets. They're already feeling that impact, okay? But if you pump $10 trillion into the economy through fiscal and monetary stimulus, people were able to, get loans. People were able to perhaps, obtain jobs, or businesses were able to prosper momentarily in 2021. Okay, eventually that's going to change. Eventually, inflation is going to hit people's pocketbooks. I mean, you already see retailers revising their earnings downwards. Okay. Eventually, the layoffs in the tech industry will then you'll see those layoffs more and more in other industries. So, Lisa, hello. Eric, hello. Once you see layoffs, then the Fed will have another problem, because what might happen is you might have to if there are layoffs and the economy continues to contract and shrink, and GDP continues to shrink, then what do? Do you raise interest rates? Do you continue to raise interest rates? You shouldn't. But then if you don't raise interest rates, you don't try to at least address inflation. So inflation keeps going up. So you're caught between a rock and a hard place. You can't combat or battle inflation if oil prices keep going up. But oil prices are going to keep going up regardless of how high you raise interest rates. So the Federal Reserve, the U.S. economy is stuck between a rock and a hard place because of Democratic policies, directly because of Democratic policies. The left doesn't care about this. All they care about is Trump's tweets. They don't care about any of this. They care about deceiving their own voters into voting Democrat with absurd fantasies like Green New Deal, which they're laughing at. Even Democrats are laughing at it now. They're flooding the country. They're getting sued by environmental companies, environmental activists, and they're flooding the country full of strategic petroleum reserves. Well, which one is it? You want to save it's a climate emergency, but you're then flooding the country and then selling strategic petroleum reserves to other countries, who, by the way, will use that to fuel their navies in the South China Sea. This administration has no concept on basic logic. You can say what you like about Trump. Oh, you didn't like Trump? Fine. At least Trump had a good foreign policy and a great economy. Okay? They didn't have the geopolitical nightmare. Like, every single thing they worried about with Trump is taking place now with Biden. Sai, hello. Every single thing they worried about. Every single thing. And it's like they don't care. They just want Trump out of office. They don't want to see Trump anymore, because he's the embodiment of everything they can't stand, everything they fear. He doesn't care about their feelings, or he doesn't care about their fabricated sensibilities that change every 2 years or every 3 years or whatever. He just doesn't care about what people in DC or Hollywood think about anything. It's a very bad thing for these people. They're used to pandering, or they're used to kind of trying to control how people think, what they do. The biggest hypocrites also. Robert, exactly. Yeah, but you know what? It's like, at least with your job, people need you. An electrician, people need electricians, okay? Houses, people who own homes, people who own apartment buildings, people who own commercial businesses and buildings. You'll always need an electrician. The problem is, if you work for a tech company, if you work for you work for Walmart, for example, you might, there are a lot of businesses or industries where, they might decide, they will unfortunately decide to downsize. Okay. There aren't many electricians out there. You need electricians and plumbers, and you need mechanics. You need There are industries where you do need skilled these people, and they have skills that the average American doesn't have. I certainly don't have those skills. But it's like interest rates will go up, the economy will continue to shrink, inflation will continue to skyrocket, inflation will eventually hit consumers. Eventually, people will not have the discretionary income to just buy what they want. And then we haven't even talked about two things, ladies and gentlemen, that I think hedge funds, banks, hedge funds, there could very easily be a too big to fail moment. We could have a 4,000 point drop in the Dow next week, 2 weeks from now, next month. I've been predicting that and the economic decline that we're seeing. I said all of this would happen in September of 2021. Now, I did think that we would have, and I'm still, unfortunately, I don't want this to happen, but I do see a 3,000 to 4,000 point drop, a day or two where the market completely tanks. And you have the IIG moment, then you have that type of situation. So you don't want that to take place. I don't want that to take place, but let's see here. Americans worry about jobs, laugh as recession fears grow. Let's see. Tech industry, massive 2022 layoffs are a sign of a boomerang effect. So it's interesting too. Like, you could type in the word recession, and not one article is about like Biden's policies. So here, if this was Trump in office and we had a recession, it would be Trump's recession. Here, instead of this, you have Time Magazine. Honestly, what is a recession? And is the U.S. in one? I mean, honestly. Trump isn't tweeting, so how could it be a recession? Come on. And even Wall Street. What's going on with the Wall Street Journal? If this is a recession, we might not know for months. Honestly, 2 consecutive quarters. The Wall Street Journal is fantastic. I have no clue, though, why the editorial boards love the New York Post. I love the New York Post. But my God, they're like, Trump is not fit for office. Well, who's fit for office? Mitt Romney. Mittens Romney. You get Gavin Newsom could run with Joe Biden as his vice president, and they would beat Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan. It wouldn't take much to defeat Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan. It wouldn't take much at all. So it's like, what do these people like? Trump is unfit for office. We want somebody who's really nice and wonderful. JG, my man. Yeah, I said to myself, starting August 1st, I'm going to start doing that, 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. every day. And then I'll have corresponding. So like when you see an 8 a.m. and 11 a.m., you will also have immediately before or after stock market crash and then nuclear confrontation channel segments. So you'll have basically 6 segments from H.A. Goodman in the morning, every morning, 2 on this channel, 2 on the stock market crash channel, and 2 on the nuclear confrontation channel, which is basically going to be a channel on geopolitics. Below in, it's on the homepage. You'll see obviously both on the homepage, but so I just said things are slow now. They're very, very slow because every time I'll do a JG, I'll do Durham Probe segment. People are like, nothing's ever gonna happen. It's just a two-tiered system. Nothing's gonna happen. It's like, oh my God. Yeah, okay. He didn't get the conviction of Sussman. God almighty, it's still happening though. The Durham Probe has a trial in October. Maybe you want to watch. I don't know. Maybe. God, it's like 5 counts. He'll get 1. JG. JG. Robert John. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Robert John. Greatly appreciated starting off the super chat. Thank you. Thank you, Robert. Greatly appreciated. Then you get people, when times are slow, when people are like, H, I was a sub on your channel, but you think your super chat too much. You spend too much time thinking people. You spend too much time. Come on and get to the news. It's like, oh my God. That's what I said. Like, if you're kind enough to give me a super chat, I'm going to thank you. Robert John, thank you so very much. Love the emoji. Robert John, thank you. Greatly appreciated. Yeah, I mean, it's just not, it's like, yes. It was a DC jury and there was 1 count. Okay. They didn't think that the Bureau, was duped by that obvious lies the Sussman told. Okay. So he literally texted, I'm coming on my own, not on behalf of a client. My God almighty. But they couldn't file a superseding indictment because of they obtained the text message too late. So he got off on a technicality. Fine. But even if he got convicted, it would be like 1 month. Not even. So it wasn't about the conviction. It was about obtaining as much information as possible for the future. And this also, like the Steele dossier source was literally given information, fed information by a public relations executive, essentially working for the Clintons. The Clintons were a part of everything. But see, again, it's not like, a person like Jimmy Kimmel doesn't know this, doesn't care. He'll just go on and pontificate and preach and condemn and judge. I mean, like, this is the thing. Ignorance is bliss for a great many Democratic voters. They don't know the specifics, nor do they care. Whenever they're caught with rampant and obvious corruption, JG, thank you. So, JG, that's so kind of you. This is for that person who doesn't like it when you... JG! Robert John! Thank you, JG. But JG, it's also because things are so slow. When things are slow, like, I just don't like what color shirt you're wearing. And, this is the best one. Why don't you just write down some notes so you're not all over the place? You make no sense. And then also, this is a good one, JG. Robert, thank you so very much. To my super chat, thank you. One of the best ones, JG, is, you'll never get to 200,000. You want to know why? And then they'll just list something they don't like. Thank you, Robert. Thank you. That happens generally when times are slow. Like right now, things are slow. JG, thank you. Well, I am a Trojan fan, so I should be wearing a cardinal and gold. But JG, Robert, thank you so very, very much. To my super chat, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think it's good that I'll have an 8 and 11 a.m. on this channel every day because I need some continuity. Like, I should have been doing this for a long, long time. But I for some, I don't know why. A lot of the channels that do very well, they have like specific times. Like you could, like Tim Pool, Sticks, X and Hammer, a bunch of others. They'll have specific times in the morning that they always upload. And so you'll know when you'll know when a certain content creator is, upload. So you won't even have to get a notification. You'll know to just go on that channel. And so that's important because you don't always get notifications. So there are some days where like I get a notification with every segment, and there's some days where I get like one notification. So my viewers get one notification. So it's really kind of interesting. JG Robert, thank you so very, very much. Yeah, unfortunately, you have, if you look at the Dow and the NASDAQ, see, everything's going up, and this is just setting people up for a major crash situation. So year to date, only down 10%, but it'll be down 15% again, or 20 or 30% in the Dow. Here you have 1 month. So it actually reached below 30,000. It'll get to below 30,000. I think it'll probably get to below 30,000 before the year ends. We'll have a really, really bad... When you have an inverted yield curve, by the way, also, the 2-year is a higher yield than the 10-year. That's not good. Thank you, Robert. Greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me. I appreciate that. Thank you. 32,845. It'll get... You'll see the... It'll go up. It could get to 34,000, 35,000. Then you'll have a 1,000-point crash. Then another 200, 300, 400 point. This is like a paper cuts type of demise. Like it's just once you have, and this is what is going to be really tragic. The tragic thing is that you'll probably have, I think you'll almost certainly have hedge funds, banks, smaller banks, but larger hedge funds go under or face huge problems like Lehman Brothers, because you have all of these, you have the mortgage, housing crashing, you have bonds and stocks that are tanking, you have the economy contracting, you have inflation skyrocketing, you have oil prices continuing to go way past $100, you have geopolitical nightmares that are brewing. Okay. Pelosi's taking a trip to Taiwan. Why, we don't know. Probably just to create the end of the world scenario. We have no clue. They haven't done enough damage, so they have to... And, what's the point? Don't they realize that China doesn't respect us, or definitely the Democratic Party? They actually respected Trump. They did. That's why he imposed tariffs. And both Republicans and Democrats, this is really bad. How could Trump do this? Interestingly enough, unions in the U.S. and in Europe wanted tariffs imposed. But of course Trump did it, and it's bad then. They couldn't... It's actually a law of nature. You can't thank Trump for anything. So you can't... It's like they can't... There was a rapper who was imprisoned in Sweden, right? And Trump made a huge deal to get him out. And then he goes, and then he says, yeah, actually Trump hurt the situation. It's like, what? He hurt? Why? You can't even help somebody in a terrible predicament. You can't, it's like unbelievable. So, but you have $10 trillion pumped into the economy. $10 trillion is a nice little cushion for an entire economy to kind of, withstand all this negative, all these negative things. Problem, however, is that a lot of that money is going to evaporate. It's continuing to evaporate. So inflation is really bad. Countries that, that collapse, they collapse from, in large part, inflation. So, food, when food gets too expensive for people, and it's already quite expensive. Food is tied directly to diesel fuel that is going to be much more expensive. So you have all these things, ladies and gentlemen, where this will come crashing down below. It actually hit below 30,000. Actually, in July, it's interesting. July 14th, I think at one point it went to 29,998, something like that. So, U.S. economy is now, national debt is now over greater. The national debt is greater than the U.S. GDP. So, this is the big problem, though. This is the big problem. U.S. heading for massive layoffs. Weekly jobless claims continue to rise, and massive layoffs are coming. In the meantime, even though most workers still have jobs, they've all suffered huge pay cuts as a result of inflation, which is true. Peter Schiff always brings it. He's awesome, and he does it in an amusing manner too. He's always bringing it. Only a committee of economists at the National Bureau of Economic Research can officially declare it. What? And has yet to do so. Best you could best believe it could be like 3/4, and they're like, well, the National Bureau hasn't declared it a recession. So you know what? Anyone who says it's a recession is working for the Kremlin and is a prejudiced, bad person who should never exist. Okay? Why don't you Trumpers just, go ahead and believe we're in a recession. Yeah, right. It's so hilarious, too. If it was Trump, oh my God. Recession, Trump's orange recession. No! Thank you, Trump. See, you could have voted for somebody else. You could have voted for Romney. You could have voted for Clinton. But you voted for Trump. And now we have a recession because of you. And then they would be doing like really bizarre things. Like, you know what we should do? We should tax everybody who voted for Trump. We should tax them. Yes. Raise their taxes. Only their taxes. They voted for Trump. That's exactly what they would say. They would be so apoplectic. It's unbelievable. They'll redefine debt. Debt is just, they'll be, you know what? It'll be like Jerome Powell. It's like, well, exactly. Lowest job participation rate in a long time. Unemployment rate doesn't matter if half the people dropped out. Exactly. You know that, JG, they'll redefine debt as money that you currently have with the possibility of the people that gave you the money forgetting about it. It's the new definition. You see? And when you look at things in that respect, everything's fine. Love Trucks, thank you. By the way, to my members, JG, Love Trucks, everybody here, become a member. Tell your friends. It's going to be better. It's going to be a lot better. Well, I wouldn't say better. It's going to be more interesting the next couple of months. Better in a political respect. All of these polls, here's my point. All of these polls that say, well, Democrats are coming back. No. You can try your best through media. At the end of the day, when people go to the supermarket, when people fuel their gas tanks, when the economy continues to contract, God forbid, when Sarah, hello, when you'd be like donate versus pledge. JG, thank you again, very much, thank you. It'll be like Trump will. Well, before I get to that, Trump will announce, but the polls showing like a tight contest in the Senate. We're going to have a very bad, unfortunately, a terrible economy going into November of this year. Okay? we will have layoffs, and anyone who votes for Democrats, you talk about the height of privilege. These people are privileged. They will be privileged. You'll be privileged to vote Democrat. You better be very wealthy, which the Democrats I know, the morally superior, are quite wealthy, but which allows them to like thumb their nose and look down upon, the Trumpers who actually want a good economy. Who would want that? And I've tried over the years, don't ever do this because there's no point to it. I've tried to explain to people who would listen within like a few seconds of them, like, in between them yelling and huffing and puffing. One of the main reasons to vote Trump is to ensure that you don't have Lincoln Project foreign policy sending Americans everywhere around the world into never-ending counterinsurgency conflict. And again, it's like they don't care. I've had people tell me to my face, who cares? They don't care. It's become like a religion. It has become a religion. So all they care about is political power. That's it. I just 10 more minutes. We'll wrap this up in 10 minutes, everybody. But let's see. The Dems claim we're not in a recession because unemployment is still low. Weekly jobless claims are up. So he has some great lines. So it's likely the U.S. economy will never be in recession again. So this is an interesting one. There will be a big difference between the Volcker monetary policy pivot in 1982 and the coming Powell pivot in 2022. The economy was completely different, though. We had a much greater manufacturing sector. Manufacturing was a lot more important to the U.S. economy in the early 80s. Banks and technology weren't as influential in the stock market outlook. Volcker pivoted in victory in fight against inflation. Powell will pivot in defeat. One thing in the 70s, one of the main reasons the economy did not do well is because we had a terrible Vietnam War was a terrible, long, conflict. And God bless all the Vietnam veterans watching this channel. And God bless the Vietnamese Americans who lived through that and came here. But then it was also like one of the reasons why the economy in the 70s, in addition to other issues as well, Jimmy Carter wasn't very good, which is why you had 12 years of Republicans after Jimmy Carter. So there was a documentary that tried like rock and roll president Jimmy Carter. Like, oh, don't forget to add 12 years of Republicans because the average American was petrified of another Carter administration. That's why they love the Clintons. That's why people love the Clintons so much, because they saved the Democratic Party. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. It's been fantastic. Robert, JG, everybody here. Remember, August 1st, Monday, August 1st, just expect 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. It won't start tomorrow. But from here on out, 8 a.m. and 11 a.m., starting August 1st. Monday, August 1st. And thanks, everybody. JG, thank you so very much. Robert, thank you so very much. To my super chat, thank you. Be here. Also, subscribe to the Nuclear Confrontation channel and the Stock Market Crash channel. I will have segments, like I said, you'll have 6 segments total before even 12 p.m. Pacific on all 3 channels, and then you'll have another 6 segments later in the day. So you'll have 12 segments of H.A. Goodman every single day. JG, thank you so much. Everybody, thanks. Everybody, Eric, everybody here, thank you. I'll see you. Yvette, thank you. Yep, that's true. Eric, exactly. Daniel, Big Daddy, hello. Thank you. Yvette, thank you so much. I'll see you all tomorrow, everybody. God bless.